Tobacco farming. People ask me when we talk about my book Game Changers and the work that we did getting into Pashtun tribal villages as Green Berets 2010, 2011, what were some of the things that I used to connect with these tribal villagers and to actually make connections and move into their village. And I will tell you, for me, most of the connections I made were discussions around farming, tobacco farming. I would talk about the kind of farming that my grandfather did and all of my ancestors did up in Western North Carolina because it was tough, crappy farming. It was some of the hardest farming that you could do in the United States. It's still done by hand today. That's exactly how folks have to farm in Afghanistan in the rural areas. And we could have a conversation about that. We could have a conversation about the life involved with this kind of farming and the kind of struggles that people go through. And it was very easy for me to talk about. And we could find connections there. It allowed me to meet those people where they are, not where I wanted them to be. And just a simple conversation, a simple story about low-tech farming would often get a connection strong enough that I could get them ready to listen. And eventually, we could have conversations about us moving into their communities and ultimately them even going to the rooftop and fighting side by side with us. But it started with a story. That was how I used story in my business as a Green Beret. Since being out of the Army for, 5 years now, what I've learned is that stories in business, that's a universal reality, not just in special forces, but in anything. I don't care, guys, if you are in sales. I don't care if you are, in manufacturing, services, nonprofit, teaching, law enforcement. Stories are an integral part of how you do your business. And if they're not, you are leaving tons of value on the table. And I see it all the time. I travel across the country and I teach and I speak and I train people, and I see how much we're leaving value on the table by not using stories in our day-to-day actions as business leaders, whether it's internal, talking to our employees or our associates, or whether it's external, when we talk about, sales and products to prospects and clients. Everybody wants to nowadays, because we live in the rat race and we live in this transactional society, everybody wants to display everything on PowerPoint or a spreadsheet, or they want to put it on social media only, right? And they don't want to connect through story, through narrative when you're talking about your product or your services or what you're doing. Or if there's a disruption at work and you have, employees that are unhappy, we're not using story to deal with that. And I'm telling you, the thing is, humans are wired for story. We've been telling stories for 100,000 years. And our brains are wired for story. In fact, the brain, the only way it can really process information is through narrative. You see, logic makes people think, but emotion makes people act. That's according to Alan Weiss, one of the best business consultants out there. And if that's true, and I believe it is, if emotion is what makes people act, stories are one of the best conductors of emotion in the world, and they have been for 100,000 years. So when your child says, Mommy, tell me a story, or Daddy, tell me a story, we're wired for this at birth. So if you want to convey your vision to your employees about where you're going with the company or what your sales goals are, or if you want to try to understand what happened between two employees at work over a certain issue, or if you want to persuade someone or inspire someone, even better, to buy from you or invest in you, the common denominator is the same. It's a story, right? Tell them a story and help them see the future, help them see where you've been, where you are, and where you're going, and they will be much more likely to take action. And the reason is very simple. There's a science to it. Story provides meaning and memory, the two things that are absolutely necessary for someone to take action. And whether that action is to follow your vision when you're not around, or whether that action is to buy from you or invest in you, meaning and memory are essential. Meaning, we are the most meaning-seeking creatures on the planet. Without meaning, we cannot do anything. We're the only mammals on the planet aware of our own existence. Simon Sinek was right in his TEDx talk when he said, people they don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Well, that's the beauty of story. Story is a natural vehicle for why. It communicates purpose. And as purpose-driven creatures, your story communicates why I should buy from you, why I should invest in you, why I should follow your vision even though my tendency is to want to follow my own vision, right? That's the power of story and the reverence of meaning in your business. Now, what about memory? If someone, think about this, your clients, your customers, your prospects, how many emails do you think they see a day? Wes, how many emails do you get a day? 120, right? So they're getting 120 emails a day. How many text messages? How many SMS messages? How many Facebook direct messages? I mean, your clients, your employees, your prospects are inundated with information. Story stands out as an authentic, transparent beacon in that sea of overcommunication, right? It stands out. When we hear a story or we see a good story, what do? We're like, damn, got to watch that. Like, I could watch Rocky a million times, and I probably have. Like, I'll sit down and watch it if it's on. Story provides meaning. It goes through the needle of short-term memory, working memory, and it goes into long-term memory. Our ability to recall stories that our grandparents told us are amazingly detailed. Well, it's the same thing. If you share stories with your clients, right, about why you created a product, why you're in this business, why you do what you do, and you walk it back to maybe a piece of struggle or conflict or where you got scuffed up and you made a move to do that, people choose you and they remember it, and they'll remember it long after you're gone, and they'll pull the lever at some point, most likely. I've been out here in the woods for the last day or so working with some guys from Compco Steel, and all of these guys are strategic leaders in this company. And for every single one of them, we talked about ways that they can use story from their life inside their business to work with their people. You know, one of them was a law enforcement officer who got scuffed up and learned some very powerful lessons as a police officer that inform him today in how he mentors people. Another one is IT and quality. But he's got stories about things that happened to him as a young kid in sports that changed his perspective for the rest of his life, right? And then another gentleman runs one of the companies, and he uses lessons from coaching kids in basketball that transfer over into how he leads at his company. You see what I mean? Like, this is what people follow. And if you can share your stories from your life into your business, that's what people connect to. We've had enough of the transactions. We've had enough of the PowerPoint slides. Give us somebody with an authentic, transparent story, and that's who we'll buy from, invest in, and follow and run through walls for. All right? Keep that in mind. Make sure you follow me on official Scott Mann on my Facebook page, Real Scott Mann on Twitter, Rooftop_leader on Instagram. Is that it? Wes? Rooftopleadership.com, right? We're always talking about this stuff. And, you know, look, humans are natural storytellers. That's why we're out here, right? If you're going to work on your story in business, I encourage you to check out these places that I talked about, because we can help you with it. But get back to nature. My dad always says, and he's the ultimate storyteller, you know, if you want to get back to your nature, get back to nature, right? That's why we train out here, and it's been amazing. So if you're going to work on your story, get out in the woods, get around a fire pit, get your employees around a fire pit, get your customers around a fire pit. You think I'm kidding? I've seen more deals closed in this kind of environment than I have in a boardroom, right? It's powerful, and it makes a human connection in a big way. So hope this helped you. Hope it served you. Until next time, I'll see you on the rooftop.